Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I've lost 30 seconds already. Rolling along, this is the title of the presentation, A Unique Gold Company. So that's a pretty big call. Why unique? Well, we're in South Korea, and there aren't too many companies that are doing that. And there are actually some very interesting things going on in Korea beyond the socio-political changes in recent times. There's actually very good geology there. We've got very few competitors. We're by far the most established company in the country. In fact, if you added up all the other foreign operators in the country, they still wouldn't be the same as us in terms of total land package. And we're very strong believers in finding new deposits there. And there's some good reasons for it, which we'll touch on. We have also a philosophy within the company of bringing in mine development groups, people who actually have expertise in mining, rather than trying to do it ourselves. So we actually have two locations. We're in South Korea and Australia. It'd be fair to say, though, that the importance of the Australian assets is waning with time, but they're still important. We have a gold mine there called Cannon. I'm hopeful that in the next 12 to 18 months that will continue to provide cash flow for us. But clearly, going forward, the growth part of the story is in South Korea. And so that's where we're pretty excited. As a portfolio, we've got several projects in the two different jurisdictions covering the full range from early exploration project development to project development, including some very active project generation in South Korea because of the unique things that we're seeing there. Why are we there? Well, fundamentally, we think that the northwestern part of the Asian or Pacific Ring of Fire is relatively underrepresented when it comes to recent discoveries or world-class discoveries. So clearly a lot of money has come out of Toronto to fund exploration on the western seaboard of the United States and South America. And people are familiar with, discoveries in Indonesia, the Pacific Rim, if you will, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea. But we think that there is a certain socio-political reasons why places like Japan, South Korea, the eastern side of Russia are relatively underrepresented, but the geology is actually first class. In South Korea's case, it's a bit of a time capsule. A lot of their mining industry was closed in the early 70s, and so we're seeing some fantastic stuff when we have moved in there. Just a quick overview of Korea. It's got it doesn't have any royalties, so it's got a fantastic fiscal regime. Tax rates are low. There's even government funding to support not only drilling activity, but also mine development. Fantastic infrastructure. It's a first-class, first-world country and a brilliant place to work. So we're extremely happy operating there, as are our geologists, who are normally used to being in very remote areas, and they can actually enjoy themselves a little bit more in South Korea in terms of civilization. So it's a fantastic country. In terms of the two key elements around the Korean story, we've got a joint venture with the Bluebird Group. This is on a couple of the orogenic projects. They're basically earning in at the moment. We'll have a 50-50 development JV where we share the costs of mine development. The second part of the story is the epithermal exploration, where we think we're uncovering a sort of a globally unrecognised new epithermal field, and we're seeing some fantastic stuff there. In fact, to give you an idea of what we're looking for, we're effectively looking for another Hishikari in southern or southwestern Korea. And we've got the right people to do it. You can see there in the bottom of the slide, Douglas Kerwin and Chris Bowden. Doug Kerwin might be known to some of you. He's obviously a world-class geologist and was exploration manager at Ivanhoe for some years, and as was Chris Bowden, was involved in Ivanhoe for a long time. So I've been able to get together a fair bit of the old Ivanhoe DNA that were actually involved in exploration in Korea back in the late 90s, and we've got access to that database. To the upper part of that slide there with BMV, these are old hand underground, narrow vein underground mining specialists. Guys who still do that kind of mining as opposed to the Australian fully mechanised sort of mining. So we've got the right guys on the ground, and we believe that we're onto something very interesting there. With the Bluebird Group, the first project or the major project they're working on is one called Gubong, which was one of the major mines in Korea back in the late 60s. More than 120 kilometres of underground mine development there. It's a big system. To put that in perspective, you can see there in plan view that the system is over 5 kilometres long. We've got an exploration target range on a small component of that, which is one vein, or part of one vein of 9 veins in the district. So we believe that longer term, once we get our teeth into this, that this will be a potentially company-making asset because it's got scale and we should be able to get this rolling relatively quickly and cheaply. And hence the Bluebird group coming in to assist us with that. System is open along strike and it's open at depth too. The other part of the story, which is where we're getting very excited in terms of our technical team, is looking for this tier 1. We're seeing some very, very good rocks in Korea. It's an area that, as Chris Bowden said, is not even recognised in the technical literature. So Korea has very much flown under the radar when it comes to the potential of finding epithermals. We are actually seeing a lot of very good projects. Several have been granted over the last few months. And when I talk about Tier 1 and Hishikari, what do I mean? That's a mine owned by Sumitomo. You can see there the last reported production level, about 200,000 ounces at an average grade of 30 grams per tonne. My understanding is that it's been mined since 1985. 7 million ounces have been mined. There's still another 5 million ounces of ore reserve remaining, and life of mine average grade is about 40 grams per tonne. So the plan view there is to give people a sense of scale. This is important because what we're looking at in Korea is of a similar sort of scale. The veins are only a few hundred metres long in terms of strike length and only a few hundred metres in terms of vertical elevation, but extremely high grade. That's the sort of thing we're looking for in Korea, and I've got a couple of examples just very quickly. Dokon is one where we've just started doing some groundwork. Literally rock chips on surface, many thousands of ppm silver, half an ounce per tonne gold. Walyu is another example, which was an old silver germanium mine that we went and had a look into the south of that project. Again, we found literally a mountain which has been completely altered, very, very high grade gold and silver in veins, never been drilled. So both Dokon and Walyu are examples of epithermal systems that haven't really seen a drill rig. We've just started drilling there. You can see in one of our first holes, we've hit just shy of a metre at 13.5 grams per tonne gold and about 500 ppm silver. So it's roughly 20 grams per tonne gold equivalent. So fantastic opportunities. That's just a small example of what we're looking at. We've got a very tight capital structure, only 55 million shares out, small valuation, shy of $10 million, and trading at 3-year lows. In addition to our Korea play, just wrap up with just a touch on the gold mine we have in Australia. That open pit has just been completed about a year ago. We're about to go underground. I'm hoping to see more gold poured from that in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. It's small at the moment, but it is open at depth and it should make quite a bit of money because it's good grade and it's a very coherent deposit. So it's just outside Kalgoorlie. That's Gold Central in Australia. Very, very easy stuff. So we're quite confident of making a lot of money from that. So pulling all that together, so why invest in Southern Gold? Well, we've got the Korean story. Clearly we're looking for stuff where we're looking for material, new deposits in an area that hasn't seen much modern exploration. So we're opening up a new area. It does come with some challenges, but we're seeing some incredible geology. We've literally got a first mover advantage in a globally unique epithermal exploration situation. And we've got a company that's got a tight capital structure, pulling that all together. So if you are interested in finding out a little bit more detail, and there is a lot more that I couldn't touch on in this presentation, my desk is just on the other side of that wall there. So please do come around and say hello, and I'd be happy to step through some details with you. Thanks very much.